This is my project on World War One. This project is based on the weapons used in World War One, the food that they ate in World War One, and a few random facts at the end. The most common food that was served in the trenches was meat, whether it was fresh or frozen. The soldiers were given 4 ounces of bacon a day. It was usually for breakfast. The soldiers were also given fish, but apparently too much of it. 8 ounces of vegetables were eaten a day in the trenches, as soldiers needed their 5 a day. Fun food facts. A lot of soldiers stopped eating the meat they were given when they saw what animals were in the trenches. A total of 3,240,948 tonnes of food was sent from Britain to either France or Belgium. What did people eat back home? In 1918, Britain invented rations which would divide food out more fairly. Each family was given a ration book to see what they could buy, including sugar, meat, flour, butter, margarine and milk. Things like bread and flour were hard to find in World War One. That's why the government made posters to encourage people who had stuff like that to save it for the soldiers. As war continued, it was harder to come by fresh fruit and vegetables, probably because the farmers, etc., were away at war. It was even said that butchers once sold dead cats. Fun weapon facts. The British loved to use the rifle. In fact, it was the main weapon that they used. In a bolt-action rifle, 15 rounds could be shot in a minute, and a shot could be fired from 1,400 meters. The machine gun was first used in the American Civil War from 1861 to 1865. Torpedoes were in submarines. Germans blew up ships with them. Those ships were carrying supplies such as food and new weapons to their enemies. Both sides liked to use mustard gas because it had no colour and no smell. It also took 12 hours to work, which would have given the opportunity to be prepared for when it would go off. Tanks were first being invented before the war, but when the English saw what they were up against, they sent in some tanks to get past obstacles that stood in their way on no man's land, such as barbed wire. They were extremely slow. They went at 3 miles per hour. The tanks could hold up to 3 people on board. The youngest British soldier was Sidney Lewis. Sidney was 12 years old when he lied about his age and then was accepted into the army. Sidney survived the Battle of the Somme, but then his mother called him home. On the first day of the Battle of the Somme, over 30,000 passed away. An explosion in France was heard in London. That's over 140 miles. Blood banks were developed in World War One due to so many soldiers losing so much blood. Generals were banned from leaving the trenches because they had to motivate the troops. The Germans called their steel helmets salad bowls. The very first Allied soldier that was killed was named John Parr. The last Allied soldier that died was buried only 10 feet away from John Parr. Russia had the largest army with 12 million soldiers. The English suffered 9,240 dead in the first day of the Battle of the Somme. Thank you for listening to my project on World War One.